When we are creating content, we need to do so in a very intentional and organized way. The best thing to do in order to truly repurpose lots and lots of content is have a big... Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking all about repurposing content. I don't know about y'all, but ever since becoming a business owner, I feel like all I am doing is creating content. So we want to get you off that cycle, and we want to make sure that we're working smarter and not harder by actually repurposing our content. Okay, so repurposing content is going to be a game changer for your business if you do not already do it, and you are any type of business owner, from service-based, product-based, a course creator, anything like that uses social media in order to sell and capture your audience. So really with content repurposing, we have to start to look at where we are first originally creating content, and then we're going to talk about 10 different ways that you can repurpose a bigger piece of content so that you can actually, by the end of this video, start to create a content repurposing plan that's going to be specific and work for your business. But before we can talk about repurposing content, it's really hard to repurpose content if you don't do 3 things first. So the first thing that you have to do to make content repurposing easy is you have to create content. But when we are creating content, we need to do so in a very intentional and organized way. The best thing to do in order to truly repurpose lots and lots of content is have a big piece of content. Now, what I mean by a big piece of content is something like a YouTube video, a podcast episode, or a blog post, because these 3 types of content are larger and typically more dynamic, right? Especially video. Video is king, because video has audio, it has visuals, and you can actually transcribe it so that it's all, written and words within it. But if you are someone who is maybe a newer business owner and you don't have a YouTube or podcast or blog quite yet, that's okay. There's multiple ways that we can repurpose and still kind of multiply the content that we're creating. But we want to look at this first as far as what we are creating at the core, basically. Now, if you are a newer business owner, I will stand by this, that my suggestion is to go deep rather than wide. And so what I mean by that is, do not from day one of starting your business try and start a podcast and a YouTube channel and a blog and all these things, because you're going to burn yourself out. It is really hard to create all of that content, especially when you're a one-woman or one-man show and you don't actually have a team to support you. So if you are, for example, just using Instagram, right? Instagram is truly how I scaled my business to multiple 6 figures. It was just Instagram, and I had just started a Facebook group when I hit that point, right? So there's still a lot of different ways that you can grow your business and be super profitable and still reuse and spread out your content. So for example, on Instagram, instead of necessarily taking one caption and repurposing it, which you can do that as well, but you can take one idea and then spread it across in the different areas of that platform. So again, for example, on Instagram, we could take one idea, such as, let's say I have an Instagram course and I'm selling it, and my one idea is that relationships equal sales, and I want to get this point across to my audience, right? So I can take the one idea and I can create a caption from that. I can create a reel from that. I can do an IG live with someone else, having a discussion about that topic. And then I can also have a story about it, right? So instead of necessarily breaking down a piece of content, you can make sure that you're not having to come up with 50 million different ideas. Take one idea and multiply it. But going back to this creating content piece, once you are at a point that you can add this on, I would definitely recommend adding YouTube or some sort of video, even like Facebook Live, podcast, or blog posts, because these are going to be the 3 most helpful core big pieces of content to help us repurpose. Now, the second thing that we need to do before we can easily repurpose is storing and organizing. So if you try and sit down right now and you don't have any organization system for your content, and you're like, let me repurpose something, right? Well, do you even know where to find all of your past content from a month or a couple weeks ago? Question for you. So we need to make sure that from the point of creation, we start organizing all of your content. This can be in your Google Drive. This can be in ClickUp, which is how all of my content is organized. This could be in Airtable, which is another really good tool for this. But you need to figure out a content organization place, and then also a process that you go through. So where do you write the caption? Do you tag them in certain ways so that you can go back and find and sort through different types of captions or blog posts or things like that? Do you have also a categorization or a tagging system to notate? Hey, once we create a blog post, has it been repurposed yet to a podcast, or vice versa, right? So you need to start to, as you have all of this content cycling around, you need to have a system to keep it all organized. My recommendation is what I currently use, which is ClickUp. It is absolutely amazing, and I have templates and lots of different trainings about how to better utilize ClickUp, especially specifically for content creation and repurposing. Now, the third thing we need to do before getting into repurposing is multiplying or sharing our content. This is one of the easiest things that I don't see people doing enough before we get into the harder work of actually, repurposing an entire video into a blog post and actually creating new pieces of content. So by multiplying and sharing your content, this is what I mean. You could take one Instagram caption that you wrote, and we might take it and just take a section of it so it's a little bit shorter and maybe the same photo, and post it in a Facebook group. And then instead of the call to action that was on Instagram, maybe we change it up just to be a really engaging question to start to have conversations in a Facebook group, because that's how they're best utilized, right? We could also then repost this to our Facebook page. We could also take this same one caption that we have and maybe think about whatever topic it's on and figure out a market research question and put that in our stories with a poll, or put it in a Facebook group. So kind of working with just what you have, make sure we're spreading it out and actually just multiplying by like reposting it in certain places, or just adjusting and cutting the pieces of content so that you can just spread that same piece of content in as many ways as possible. Sometimes this might even mean taking your Instagram caption, let's start with that core one again, and maybe next week you post that in your Facebook group with a different call to action. But do this first before you start creating all these different new pieces of content, and this will be really helpful as well for more visibility and exposure, and not having to come up with a million ideas every single week. Okay, now let's specifically talk about repurposing, which is why you are here. So we're going to talk about 10 different ways that you can repurpose a core big piece of content. So for this instance, I'm going to use a video, for example. So just like this one, these are some examples of how you could take either a YouTube video or a Facebook Live or anything like that and repurpose it. So the first thing that we can do is turn it into a blog post. So an example of how you could do this is take the video, run it through a software like rev.com, which is not sponsored, but it is a tool that I use and a lot of other people use. And that can give you a transcript, and then you can take that and just kind of clean it up a little bit and turn it into a blog post. Or you can take that from there and divide it up into a bunch of captions, or completely kind of rewrite it. So whether it's a direct transcription from the video, or it's just the wording that's then kind of based off of the base for a blog post, now you have it in written form. The second thing you can do is turn the video into IG captions or social media captions in general. So I was talking about this before, where we can take the video, we can transcribe it and get the written form, and then we can look at those different sections of the written form and kind of pick and pull. And from one video, even that's just 5 to 10 minutes, you could probably pull out and create 1 to 3 to even maybe 5 different types of captions for Facebook, for Twitter, for Instagram, for any of those things. Now, without even doing that transcription, you could also just simply listen back to a Facebook Live or a video or a podcast episode that you have, and just kind of listen and jot down a couple of those ideas to then turn into captions, some of the quotes that you said. So these can be different, like carousel posts of, let's say this video, I'm going through 10 ways to repurpose. So what I could do is turn that into a carousel Instagram post. I could write a post kind of all about the value of repurposing that I talked about here. And then I could swipe through the carousel post with 5 of the ways that you can repurpose, but I could say, hey, go check out the rest of the video for the other ones. So you can also be smart about it, whether you repurpose all the information or whether you start to link it all together back to the original source. The next thing that you can do is repurpose the video or the podcast into an Instagram story. So a couple different ways that you can do this, and that you can see on my own Instagram. If you check out here, this is what we put on our stories every time that we post a new YouTube video, and then it goes into our highlights here as well. So we just have a cute little Canva graphic that kind of announces the title and gives a little preview of the video. You could even do less fancy than that though, and just put the video on your Instagram stories to give people a couple 15 to 30 second view of what the video is. Even if this is a blog post, instead of having a preview of the video, they can just have like the announcement that the new blog post is live and to head to the link in your bio. Same thing with your podcast. So definitely repurpose this on your Instagram stories. stories. The other way that you can do this is from, let's say, this video here, I could then create a mini training on my stories and also talk about my number one favorite way to repurpose content, and then I could always lead people back to this video to find out more. The next way you can repurpose is with Reels. So Reels and TikTok have really blown up recently, and they are a really great and fun way for you to repurpose video. So 2 different ways that you can repurpose to Reels from a video like this is you can literally take a section of the video and put it into Reels with some, little captions and pop-up text, and it can be like a teaser for the video. Or we could just take the idea from this video or even part of the transcript and use that for the reel, and you may refilm it. So I might completely refilm just so it's a little bit quicker, 1 way to repurpose, 2 ways to repurpose, 3 ways, whatever, and turn that into a reel, and that would be perfect. So the next way you can repurpose is with an email. So we can do this literally, or we can do it by borrowing the idea, right? So we can take the video and we can then write an email that is like the same content that's in the video and then link back to the video. Or we can take an idea from the video and just write an email that's just all value about, for example, in this one, 5 different ways that you can repurpose your content, whether you link back to the original video or not. Now it's just another piece of content, and you can probably take that from the transcription of the video. Another thing that you can do is repurpose the video into a podcast, or vice versa, podcast into a video, or blog post into a podcast, right? Kind of any from that 3 triangular main pieces of content. So if you're recording a video like this, which is so awesome, I could have my mic right here and I could be recording the podcast at the literal same time that I'm recording the video. Or you could often just strip the audio from any of the videos that you already have. Okay, so the next way that we can repurpose is with an IGTV. So especially if you're starting from a video in the first place rather than a podcast or a blog, this is gonna be super, super easy and such a great way to literally just take the exact same piece of content and we're just putting it on a different medium or a different platform. So let's say you had either a Facebook Live or a YouTube video just like this one. You're gonna go ahead and download so you have the actual video itself. And then I would recommend uploading it so that we can go ahead and add like maybe some borders to it, maybe add a title to it. You could design any of those elements maybe in Canva per se. And then we want to go ahead and add captioning to the video. Go ahead and save it, make sure it's the right dimensions for an IGTV, and then just simply upload it to IGTV. This is just such a great way to repurpose because it really doesn't take a lot of effort. You don't actually have to create a new form of content. We just have to literally take the same one and repurpose it so that it fits on a new platform, and then you're able to share it on your Instagram stories or just have it available for people to dig into. Okay, the 8th way you can repurpose content is Pinterest. Pinterest is honestly one of my favorite tools just because it is so dynamic. You're constantly adding new content to it, and it is such a good lead generation platform. So Pinterest is actually not a social media platform. It is a search engine. So all of the different content that you want to put into Pinterest, we want to make sure that it is SEO optimized. So for example, taking this video, we could take an actual little video snippet and kind of put it in Canva and create a cute little graphic for Pinterest like this one here. And then we can add it to Pinterest. You can also turn this video into a blog post and then create a couple of different pins from that blog post to put on Pinterest that way. So there's a lot of different ways that you can utilize Pinterest and pull different sections of this bigger piece of content like this video to post on Pinterest. The next thing that you can do from a video like this is you can turn it into different graphics and visuals and quotes. So from this video, I've definitely said a lot of different quotes that we could kind of extract out and make a shareable graphic either for my Instagram or something just inspirational. But different quotes and visual representations are really, really popular for sharing and saving types of content on various different types of platform, whether that's Pinterest, Instagram, or Facebook. And the last way that you can repurpose a big piece of content like a video like this is on Facebook. So we can post this video on our Facebook page or in my Facebook group or even in other Facebook groups. And you can take a little snippet or 1 to 2 sentence summary of what the video is about, or even pull and write a little caption that could go on your Instagram and all of your Facebook pages to share the link to the video. And a little bonus tip for you guys outside of those 10 is that you can also take literal content that you created from, past weeks or months ago and reuse it. So while we were just talking about kind of breaking down and reframing the type of content, you can also just say, hey, as long as my content is organized, let's say that I'm launching, for me, my signature group program, Laptop Lifestyle Bootcamp. I launch it all the time, right? So if I'm launching it again in a month, I might pull from the last time I launched different Instagram captions and stories and all these different things, and I might literally reuse some of them. I don't need to change them or do anything to them. If they were valuable then, they'd be valuable now. So make sure that you don't forget about all of your old pieces of content, and don't forget to continue to kind of sprinkle that in to share and expand its lifeline. Okay, so action steps from this video today. First, identify what are all of the different platforms that you yourself are working with. Then we want to make sure that we're organized and we have a content creation and storing process. And then I want you to start to list off all the different repurposing ways that we discussed in this video that you want to do, and create a process for yourself so that when you create a YouTube video, what happens, right? And make sure that we're not just repurposing to repurpose. Make sure that you're being strategic and intentional about the ways that you choose to repurpose your specific content to work for your business. And if you are wanting to dive deeper into content creation, like maybe you're even just stuck at creating content, much less getting to the repurposing phase, check out my mini course. I'll put the link below in the description. It is called the Content Kit and is all about creating a system from the point of market research and gathering information about your ideal client all the way to my foolproof system to be able to create content for a month in one afternoon. And I also have some other resources as well with the links below about repurposing content. Thank you so much for tuning in to this video today. Make sure to check out some of my other videos above for you to dive deeper into all things entrepreneurship, business, marketing, and digital nomad lifestyle. And I will see y'all in the next video.